Okay, so hi Zina, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you. It's sunny again today, so that's nice.
I know. Change from the rain.
Yeah, definitely. How's Birmingham treating you?
Um, yeah, it's been okay. It's not really, you don't get the busyness of Birmingham because of COVID and lockdown, so it's been okay. Mhm.
Which hospital are you based at actually?
So I'm University Hospitals Birmingham, but I'm between Queen Elizabeth Hospital and Heartlands Hospital. So I
Okay.
kind of do 2 days at one, 2 days at another.
Oh, that's nice. Do you
Yeah.
do like one specialism in one place then and another?
No, it's the same specialism. It's just that
Yeah, sorry.
the lab is split across the two sites,
Okay,
and I get the two sites kind of do different things, so I get exposed to different things by doing the two sites.
that's good.
Yeah.
So you good to just give a little bit of like a background about which specialism you're on and like your background before the STP and stuff?
Yeah. So I'm first year STP, and I'm on the vascular specialism at University Hospitals Birmingham, like we said. Um, so I graduated in July from my undergrad. So I've literally just graduated. Yeah. I graduated from the University of Leicester and I did
Oh,
medical physiology. So
wow.
basically, yeah, it was basically my biomedical sciences, but there was a bit more like physiology and pharmacology involved. Um, I I just applied in my final year, and luckily, yeah, this is where I am now.
That's so good. Well done. It's so hard to get on first
Yeah,
time.
thank you.
Um, I'm from Leicester actually, so we've done
Oh,
like the exact same move.
University of Leicester as well.
No,
Oh,
I just live near Harborough, so I say I'm from Leicester. I'm not actually.
oh. No, I'm originally from Nottingham, but I just went to
Oh,
uni in Leicester, so
yeah,
yeah.
not too far away.
No.
Cool. So, did you have much experience in like vascular science? Like, was your project on it at all, or was it just something that you were really interested in during your degree?
So the route for me was a little bit different. So essentially, I think it was in my first year or in my second year, I was looking into what roles I could apply for and what I could kind of do after my degree. So I've always been more into clinical side of things rather than laboratory
Yeah.
based science. So I think it was first or second year, I can't remember exactly. I went on work experience in vascular department in hospitals in Nottingham, and it was actually there that I came across vascular scientists. I actually didn't know about vascular scientists before that. So it's kind of by chance,
Yeah.
because I was under sort of a vascular surgeon, but he sort of said, do a day with a vascular scientist. So that's when I came across it. Um, and then in my final year, where you kind of start panicking and you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm applying to, all of that stuff. So I remember just like panic researching everything, and I came across the STP program through online research. And when I was looking at the specialisms to apply for, I again came across vascular, and I was like, oh, this sounds familiar. I was like, oh, what a vascular scientist is. Um, and yeah, so essentially that's why I applied to vascular. I am interested in vascular as well, though. So my final year project was vascular related, but it was a laboratory based project. So it was more molecular rather than like anything clinical. So I think that might have helped my application a little bit, but it's not really too relevant. It would just sort of be the theory that would be relevant. And I've
Yeah.
always enjoyed the cardiovascular system. When we've studied it at Leicester, we were very lucky in terms of our degree. Was we kind of did a bit of everything, so all of the physiology systems. So I really got to know what I enjoyed and what I didn't enjoy. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
That
how
is
it's
good to have an overarching view first and then be able
right.
to.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I essentially applied to the STP because well, I thought it was a great opportunity, and it's just the perfect combination, I think, between science and research and clinical and working with patients at the same time.
Do you have much, like, is it a very patient-facing role, or are you kind of behind the scenes?
No, it's very patient-facing. Essentially, everything we do is patient-facing. So communication skills and patient interaction is essential for the vascular specialty. Yeah.
That's cool. Did you apply to cardiac as well, or did you just apply for vascular?
No, I did apply to cardiac as well, because when we applied, we had the choice of 2 specialisms. But because of the whole COVID situation, I think they changed it so you only get an interview for the one that you ranked higher, and I ranked higher for vascular, so cardiac kind of was out of the window. But I mean, to be honest, I think it's better that I did get onto vascular because I knew a little bit more about what the role is really for vascular than cardiology. So,
do you have much interaction with like cardiac scientists or STPs, or are they quite separated?
So we see a lot of cardiology patients, but in terms of working for, I mean, we do a few scans for cardiology as well. A lot of the scans we do are for cardiology, but in terms of sort of working with the cardiology department, not really. I mean, other than my rotations, I know I've got my cardiology rotation coming up. So, but it is, you do need a good you do need good cardiology knowledge to sort of understand everything that you have to do in vascular. So
what have you started with so far?
So far I've only done, I'm on my vascular rotation at the moment. I'm meant to be starting my respiratory rotation within the next 2 weeks, but I think that's getting cancelled or delayed because of COVID, and because I've been redeployed now to COVID ITU. So my vascular rotation is kind of on pause, but luckily I've finished most of my competencies for that, and you know, supervisors understand that we can go back to it in the future. So yeah, I think I'm just really going to be in ITU until further notice, and then hopefully get to go on my respiratory rotation. Got my cardiac rotation after that. So
do you know what kind of things you'll be doing while you're redeployed?
So I think at the moment it's going to be mostly donning and doffing, so sort of PPE, making sure that people are putting on the PPE properly, and you know, just more organisation rather than anything too clinical. So yeah, I've just had my training so far, so I've not actually started yet. So
are you starting like soon, or do you have a couple of weeks leeway?
I think I'm literally just waiting for that email with my rota. So I think I will be starting as soon as possible. It was very like quick in terms of I literally emailed about the training like a day before the training. So they're just trying to get people out there as soon as possible. But the good thing is they're redeploying us with the rest of the STP students at UHB, so it's nice that we're all going to be together, and yeah, should be okay hopefully.
So are you all getting redeployed? Is it like a hard and fast, or is it something that you offered?
No, as far as I know, we're all getting redeployed. They are really redeploying everyone, to be honest, UHB. So yeah, that's the way it's going.
Good luck. So you've done your vascular one, and you said that you will have a cardiac. Yes. And was it respiratory as well?
Yeah.
Do you have any other ones other than those 3?
No, I think it is just those 3 for the first year. I think that's the only modules we have in the first year. I think it's meant to be 3 months in each. Is that right? Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, you'll get through it.
Yeah.
Are they all based in Birmingham, or do you have to travel anywhere?
No, luckily they're all based in Birmingham. The good thing about universities, well, the good thing about doing your STP with UHB is the fact that there's like 4 hospitals as part of UHB. So you can really see any specialism you want to. You don't really have to travel elsewhere for anything. And then obviously we've got like the Birmingham Women's and the other trusts that are nearby. So
It's massive. Like we have so
it
many
is
treatments.
huge. Yeah, no, it's huge, and the number of patients that are under UHB is just absolutely huge. So,
That's crazy.
yeah.
So what like was a general day like in vascular before you were redeployed?
Okay, so the general day is more, so the mornings tend to be hot clinics. So we work very, very close to the vascular surgeons, and essentially every morning most mornings they'll have a hot clinic where they see urgent patients. And if those patients need a scan, so we mostly do, essentially the role of vascular scientists is to do non-invasive investigations on vascular patients, and that's mostly ultrasound scans. So usually we work in those hot clinics. If a patient needs a scan or anything like that, then that's what we do. And we will report those scans, and the surgeons will most of the time, an ultrasound is the only scan the vascular patients will have, so it is very important. And they'll use that based on their treatment for their surgery or whatever they decide to do with the patient afterwards. And then the afternoon tend to be more specific clinics. So at QE anyway, on Mondays and Tuesdays, we do TIA clinics. So we have the TIA consultants, and we'll do any carotid scans for them. We also do ward scans for any urgent vascular patients and stroke patients as well. So yeah, essentially that's the day. Mornings tend to be hot clinics, afternoons tend to be more specific clinics and wards. Yeah, basically the range of it.
Sorry. What kind of things are you looking for when you're doing the scans? Like, what is the reason the patients ended up with you?
Okay, so the scans let us see the blood flow in the patient's arteries and veins, and most of the patients we see we usually see stroke patients, so people that have had strokes recently or think they've had strokes, because we can sort of scan the carotids, the carotid arteries over here, and we'll be able to assess the blood flow and if there's any plaque or stenosis, which will be able to indicate to us if the stroke was due to vascular disease. And it also sort of we can give, in the reports, we'll give values which will indicate whether they are suitable for surgery and whether surgery will work. They might also go for a CT if it's, so sometimes they are sent to have a CT as well as an ultrasound scan. We also do a lot of, we do DVT scans to look if anyone's got a blood clot. We do sort of surveillance scans, so if anyone's had surgery, so they might have had like a AAA repair, so it's called like an EVAR repair. So AAA is like an aortic aneurysm. So the one thing we do is there's an NHS surveillance program. It's called the AAA surveillance screening program, and it's for males over the age of 65, I believe, don't quote me. And they all get referred to have a scan, and if that scan, so usually that's done at a GP or done by another team, more of like a community-based scan. But if they then find that they do have an aneurysm, then they are sent to us and we survey them, and based on how big the aneurysm is, they might come into the lab, once a year or 2 times a year. We also survey patients that have had surgical intervention. So if they've had like a graft or a bypass or you know, post-surgery, so for the TIA, if they've had an endarterectomy, a carotid endarterectomy, then they'll come in and we'll assess whether it's working. Yeah, so the most prominent diseases that we work with is sort of DVTs, strokes, aneurysms, peripheral arterial disease and peripheral venous disease. We work a lot with diabetic patients because obviously they're most prominent for arterial disease and peripheral disease. We also, what else do we see? We see things like varicose veins, but that's something that's being put on hold at the moment because of COVID, so it's not seen as urgent. So I've not seen much of that. We also do scans. They call them pre-cabbage. It's basically like a pre-op scan before. So most of it is for cardiac. So if cardiac patients are having a bypass or anything like that, then we will do like a pre-op scan for that. So yeah.
That sounds cool. There's so much involved with that.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, it's a very sort of specialist field.
Yeah.
So I know in some countries, I think it was like a radiologist specialism. But yeah, it's quite specialist.
So do you work more pre-surgery, or are you ever in the surgery with the vascular surgeons?
So different vascular labs work differently across the country. I know at QE, the vascular scientists used to be in the surgery for things like there's this thing called EVLT, and it's basically like a laser therapy for it's basically laser therapy, and it used to be the case that the vascular scientists would go there and do the ultrasound during the EVLT because you kind of use ultrasound to dictate where you should shot the laser, if that makes sense. So I know now, more recently, surgeons are sort of training themselves up on like basic ultrasound so that they can do that themselves. But we do sometimes get called in to surgery if they need someone to do this ultrasound for them. But yeah, it is mostly clinics and wards.
It sounds like it's been hands-on,
yeah,
going in there with the patient.
No, it's very hands-on, and you tend to really know the patient, and you do really have to sort of know what's going on because the surgeons rely on what you're saying for their intervention. So you really do need to like really investigate into that disease. I mean, some scans take literally like an hour if it's like a complicated one, and especially for someone new like me, it can take quite a long time.
So who are you training with? Like, do you train with your training officer, or is it with other like clinical scientists?
So all the people I train with are vascular scientists. I do, for some of my competencies and stuff like that, I do sit in for like with the surgeons consultations and things like that for my own learning. But I have my supervisor is based at Heartlands Hospital. However, everyone really trains me up, helps train me up. They're all a lovely team, and they all sort of are happy to supervise me doing scans and things like that. So yeah.
You said earlier something about a lab. Is there much lab work, or is that just like?
Yeah, so essentially there's no lab work. It's just where they come to see us is called the vascular. Okay. So that's what. Yeah, it sounds weird because we get patients come in and they're like, oh, you know, when I saw vascular lab on my appointment letter, I was really confused, but it's just, I don't know why it's called vascular lab.
I was thinking like, how can you do lab work on like a scan? But
that's what everyone thinks when I tell them like I work in a vascular lab. Yeah, but the most of the research we do is like any research is sort of like clinical research rather than like scientific research, if that makes sense.
Are there any other trainees with you in vascular?
No, there isn't. I'm completely on my own. So I'm like the newbie to the team, but no, they're all lovely. They've had STP students in the past. My supervisor actually trained through the STP, so
that's good.
Yeah.
So are there none in the years above, either like second or third?
No, they take because it's quite a small team. They only take one student per 3 years, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
At the moment, anyway. I don't know if they'll change that in the future.
You said that you knew Sam. Like, are you both at the same hospital, or do you just know of him through?
Yeah, so he's at Heartlands as well, and I know of him. How did we meet? Through I think it was, like all the introduction training you have to do at the very start, like life support and stuff like that. I think that's where I met him. Yeah.
That's cute. At least you know like some people.
Exactly. And I'm being redeployed with him, so that's
nice.
Yeah.
A silver lining and the non-silver situation.
I know. Yeah, I was so scared I'd just get chucked into like, a load of ITU stuff where I know absolutely nothing about intensive care. But it's a lot better than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
it should be okay.
My mum's been redeployed as well into ITU, but she says that the people there are nice.
Oh, okay, that's good then.
Know everything, so not in Birmingham to be fair, but I'm sure it'll be the same everywhere. They'll just be grateful for some support.
Yeah, that's the thing. I guess they'll just be happy that people are here to help.
Yeah. So have you had uni as well? Because I know some people have, and then some people have had it for like 3 months, and it's all been a bit different.
Yeah, so I had my first teaching block in, when was it now? October. I think it started in October for 6 weeks. Obviously, it was all online. So my master's is with Newcastle University, so it was all online. And I think my second teaching block only is in March, but I think it's only for 2 weeks, I believe. And then they kind of do this thing with Newcastle where all of the deadlines are on the exact same day. So it's like the 12th of April. So it's like this horrible 12th of April day where all of the deadlines for all of the modules are on the 12th of April. And we didn't have any first term exams, so all the exams are in summer as well. So it's a bit different to you at Manchester, or? Yeah.
At Manchester.
It's a bit different to Manchester.
That's crazy. I don't know why they do that.
I know, so I'm not looking forward to the next few months. I think it'll be quite intense. Yeah.
No, that sounds horrible. I don't know why they do that. I'm trying to think, but no, nothing.
I guess in a way, I mean, I know at Manchester you had your first exam, which in December, didn't you? Like,
we didn't. So non-med students did.
Oh.
They had an anatomy exam, I think, but we didn't. So our first exam's next week.
Okay, that's all right then, because because I was like, that's too soon for an exam right after your teaching block. Because I don't know about you, but the teaching block is quite intense. There's a lot.
So intense.
Yeah, and because it's all sort of remote, I tend to find I go through lectures a little bit slower than if I was there in person. So, and I'm not used to learning like this. So, yeah.
I think they put so much into the teaching time as well. They were like, this will only take you 45 minutes to an hour, and it would take me like 3 hours.
No, honestly, it does. It really does. Everything takes so much longer. Yeah. I really hope. Hopefully next year it will be in person. Right.
Yeah, definitely. What did you get up to at uni? Like, what were the different modules you had to do?
So I had one vascular module, one cardiac module, one respiratory module, and then I also had like it's like an ethics sort of module. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was, I think, introduction to healthcare leadership or something like that. But basically, all of like your empathy and all of that sort of stuff. And then I think I have one more module, but it doesn't start till the second teaching block. And it's just like, yeah, I don't really know too much about it. I think it's called clinical investigations. I'm not sure.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah. No, it will be. I think I do really enjoy the fact that we do equal parts of each specialism in the first year. It's a good like base knowledge for our rotations and just
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting to get like an idea of how things fit into different parts of the hospital as well.
No, definitely. It definitely increases your understanding, because what I tend to find is from the modules like on the STP, there's a lot more clinical knowledge, whereas I know in my undergrad it was very sort of science.
Yeah.
There wasn't really any links to how it would be linked clinically. So
that was the same with us. Like we had a lot of detail on how, I don't know, transcription works, like your protein involved, whereas now it's more like a scope of what it's involved in. Yeah.
Really prefer. There was way too much to learn for the undergrad. Yeah.
No, definitely. So you had the placement in your uni. Sorry, I'm chopping and changing so much.
No, it's okay.
The placement in vascular science at uni. Did you have any other experience at all, or was that?
I'm trying to think. I really didn't. Literally just my final year project. In terms of like non-vascular experiences, so I did throughout uni. I was working part-time in a care home, so I had a lot of clinical experience in that sense. I also worked in like an SEN school, so that kind of gave me something different. Worked multiple like retail jobs as well. So I think I mean, I don't know whether it would help with my application, but I do think I gained skills from doing things like that I wouldn't gain elsewhere. I did a lot of volunteering as well, so I was getting involved in sort of student societies and what else did I do? Yeah, I think I volunteered at hospital as well, so I've done a lot of like extracurricular stuff. Kept myself very busy.
It sounds it.
Yeah.
Like ticking off every single thing you can.
Yeah, literally. But I do prefer to be busy, so yeah. I work under pressure, so yeah.
That is good. No, I think like non-clinical experience is so important as well, because it's good to develop even things like patience and the ability to just like let things go before you get into like a clinical situation.
I think it's a really good boost for your confidence in general as well. I mean, I remember I think I got my first job when I was 16 or something like that. I remember before I used to be, I didn't used to be very confident, whereas now I'm more than happy to sort of talk to anyone, and I think it does really, really help. And you need that confidence in a patient-facing role.
Definitely. Yeah. Ours is really not patient-facing, but I think it's still like you still have to be able to talk to people, because they're still going to be like in meetings, and you'll have to like report the results and stuff like that. So it's just such an important thing to learn.
Yeah, I think in general, like working for the NHS, any job role, any department, you've got that team working. It's one of the essential, skills to have. So having those skills is good. Yeah.
Fab. I completely lost what I was going to say. Is it what you've expected at all? Obviously.
I don't know, because the thing is with me was that I tend to find that, this is the other thing where I was really sort of glad to see what this whole idea that you do with the interviews. I think it was a great idea, and it's going to help a lot of people, because I remember when I was applying, there was honestly like no information online. I mean, it might be better for other specialisms. I can imagine maybe for cardiac you'd find a little bit more, but for vascular, it's a very specific role, and there is a lack of vascular scientists in the UK. So there's just no information online.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have an expectation, to be honest. My expectation was just what I saw on my work experience, but on my work experience, it was a different hospital, it was a different service. It was quite a while ago. So like all I remembered really was the scans. I didn't get to see much about. I was only there for a couple of days, so I didn't get to see really how they worked. So I had no expectations, to be honest, and I came in with no experience at all. So I literally never used an ultrasound machine in my life. So it's all completely new to me. It was just a theory that I kind of knew, but other than that, everything's new. Yeah.
It's really nice to hear that you can go into it and not have like really in-depth understanding about how to do everything, and just be
definitely
the side of it over time.
Sort of fresh eyes, just start right from the beginning. And I think in a way, I know there's a lot of in-service sort of trainees, but in a way, I think it can be good to come in sort of fresh, because it's just everything you're learning to the standard that you need to know. So, yeah.
So, are there many other vascular trainees across the country, or are there not many of you at all?
I think I've virtually met them all through the masters, but I think there's only. I mean, I remember when I was applying and you had to rank the locations, and then I remember on the location it would say how many places they had. So I think in total, I remember counting them, there was maybe 13 places and 13 locations. There's not many. Vascular is definitely a lot smaller than the other specialisms, some of the other specialisms anyway. So there isn't many others, but hoping to meet them all at some point in these 3 years. We get of this mess,
at some point.
It's a weird time to sort of begin a brand new chapter, really. So.
That's why I quite like doing these, because it's just given me like a chance in the day to meet someone else and
someone else. Yeah, it is good, because it's like you literally don't know anyone. And I think, in my department anyway, everyone has been working as a vascular scientist essentially since that's their career, since they started working. So to put it politely, they're a little bit older. There's no, I don't know how to say this without being rude, but there's no students really with me, other than sort of medical students that you come across. So it does feel very alone, quite not lonely, but you don't feel like you're a student at times, I think. So it'll be nice to feel like a student a bit more later on, hopefully.
Cool. So do you have any advice for people either applying or that get advice and move into vascular?
In terms of applying specifically for vascular, I would say try and make your application as specific to vascular as possible. So really try and, you might not actually know much about the specialisms, but try and pretend you do. Really. Any vascular experience, anything that would be relevant to vascular at all, mention it, and really put across why it is vascular that you want to do, because sort of the reasoning of I want to help people is really relevant to all of the specialisms. So you really need to put across why vascular specifically. I would also say I think for your interview, research as much as possible about the hospital trust
Mm-hmm.
that you're working for, well, that you've applied for, and yeah, just sort of research what you would do on a day-to-day basis. Anything sort of new, anything that's specific about your trust that stands out. So I know the vascular department in our trust is, I think, is like the biggest or one of the biggest in the UK, vascular department in the UK. So, you know, just mentioning things like that in your interview does help impress them, and you know. And when you start, just be open-minded, be ready to just learn, because there's a lot of learning. So, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like with genetics, there are like certain places will kind of specialize in certain things or take an interest in certain things. So just being able to kind of even just ask them questions about it.
Oh,
you
no.
don't have to know everything.
No. Nobody expects you to know anything when you come in. You know, you're not expected to know anything. So just take your time with your training and be open-minded and be very enthusiastic. So I know I right from day one I was like, oh, can I scan? Like, just, I'm like that annoying student. Can I have a go? Can I watch? But yeah, just being enthusiastic and motivated about your speciality will definitely help you get through it. Just make sure you choose the right speciality. I think that's the most important thing, because your role can be completely different in a different speciality. So just make sure it's the thing you want to do. Really.
And if you're going to put this much time and effort into something, you want to make sure that you do really like it.
Yeah, exactly. Because this could be the start of your career, and there's a lot of career progression you get with the STP. So, you know, you want to make sure you're in the right thing.
Don't want to waste 3 years for nothing.
No, exactly.
Cool, fab. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention?
No, not that I can think of. Good luck to everyone applying, and it's a good time to join the NHS, I think. Well, debatable, but it's a time that you'll never have again. So
yeah, there are just, it shows how flexible it can be for something that you think is slightly less flexible.
No, definitely. And every department has been touched by COVID in some sort of way. And you know, I know in vascular there's a lot of there's some vascular diseases that are coming up because of COVID. So patients had COVID, so it's going to affect the service. It's going to affect the service in the future in so many different ways. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you in Birmingham at some point.